I'm going to introduce the framework that I've been working on for the past year, and it's really the point of it is to highlight the issues that I feel take so much time while you're pen testing, and pretty much you can't remember all the code. So we write a script, and we write a script, and we write a script, and then we have a pile of scripts. And it's a mess, and they never just work, and you're always tweaking them to work on the engagement that you're on. So we want a way to eliminate that as much as we possibly can. So as far as pen testing kits go, there can be only one. Really? Well, we'll have to see about that. There's some alternatives. There's not just one. Do we go with the Kali Lay? Do we really want to have a Debian Ubuntu-based platform? Some people really do like to have that the initial ease of having a system that just works for them, and we get that. But some people, we don't want that. We don't want to feel in a box, and they want to have the freedom to make the system anything they want in any way they desire it to be. And that's where Gentoo comes into play. But that's too much maintenance for many people. They don't want to compile all the things all the time. They just got to go to work. We get that. So how do we bridge that gap? Pentoo comes into play. If you haven't heard it, give it a shot. It does come in a live distro now, and it also comes with a PAX hardened kernel if you like. Then it has most of all the same tools. If you want a tool, request an IRC and have it put in. You can follow it on the code.google for Pentoo. Just give that distro a shot. The software that I've written for N4P is going to be based on the OpenRC init script, which is what Gentoo uses and what Pentoo has adopted, obviously. So it's only going to work in that environment right now unless someone wants to port it to work on a different init system. So let's get into the proof of concept of why this application was originally developed and why I created N4P and why it's for Pentoo. That's pretty obvious. It's because of the init system is why it's going to work for Pentoo. What we're trying to cover here with this application is managing the entire system state of our interfaces on the machine. It's a lot of work for us to remember how to bring which interface down, setting routing tables for that interface, setting the DNS, putting the DHCP ranges into the DHCP.conf file, calling the init script, bringing the service back up, doesn't work, bring it down, debugging. You know, we're 20, 30 minutes half the time to go after an attack. And if you're doing a wireless attack and it's 4:30 in the evening, you need to have users on the network to capture handshakes to crack that wireless WPA cert. Everyone's going to be cutting out in 30 minutes. You have a plane right after that engagement, and you need to get it done. So these are situations that I've seen out in the field that we really need to somehow establish a quicker way for us. And it also went a little further. The wireless feature was something that was added later in the development. It really focused on just controlling the interfaces of the machine. What can we do with that? That's what we want to know. Well, no frameworks out there that offer the wireless have like bridging capabilities, have VPN capabilities with access points. They don't control the services for you, and they don't control your firewall. Controlling the firewall here is very important, and we'll get into that. But mainly, what I wanted to highlight in that situation here is that we can bridge the adapter for, I don't know, maybe I just need an AP for me. Maybe you want to get on your phone, and you need to plug it into the wall. It works for that. Or if you need to use the VPN, you can just tell it VPN, and you can connect over your phone to your wireless, and you're on your company VPN if you need inside a portal. So these are just fun tools or ways that you have an option while you're off on your engagements. Let's go ahead and check out some of the firewalls. Yes, N4P is going to take over your firewall. It's not a bad thing. I do suggest if you like it, add your own rules into the firewall. Allow N4P to handle it all. If you don't, sure, I mean, you can keep your own and run it, but there's really no need. If you follow the rules here, you see how we have them. We're running a full stateful firewall. We drop everything that's coming in the beginning and only explicitly allow services out. You can see halfway down, well, it might be hard for you to see on that screen, that we're we control like the VPN outputs based on the config file. So if we haven't set these variables in the config file, the firewall won't allow these ports through. So if it's just your own basic system you want to use, you have the security and benefit that you want, and then it will dynamically control the firewall. If we're not, say we're not bridging, we need to use IP forwarding. It will recognize that and tailor this firewall when it builds it according to that request that you've made. If we go ahead here and we'll check out some of the rules further down in the script for controlling the firewall with the access point. Okay, you have options. It will automatically give you the port forwarding for the IP forwarding that we want. But further down, maybe we're doing testing on an unknown device, and we only want to be able to see what's happening on port 80. We don't allow any other services from that machine that's connected to our AP through. We have multi-port control, so just put in your port you want, take off the comment, and rerun it, and you're good. So you have a lot of dynamic flow in this firewall built in with you already. The other option is, say you're using an SSL strip attack. The firewall recognizes it and says, okay, well, I need to redirect port 80 to 10,000. So let's go ahead and add that rule. If we don't use that attack, we're not going to use this port, and we're not going to add the rule to our script. All right, so now that we have controlled our entire infrastructure or the state of our interfaces of our device, that's fun and all, but we're pen testers, so we need to hack something. Nothing's completed unless it has a feature to hack something. So what kind of hacks and tools do we have already laid out in front of us we can utilize with this functionality of the base framework of your adapters? Well, man in the middle is a great one because we do have bridging involved. So it's very easy to man in the middle other software if you're reversing software, if you're cracking software, any type of feature that you want to use that way. Built in is, EtherCap is built into it. That way it's very easy to sniff across that bridge, or it's easy to sniff information that is connected to you through the AP. So that is a wonderful option that you will have here. And as well, we went over the SSL strip because it's in the firewall. And we added WPA2 because we're using aircrack as our base string for an application that we want to go after. So WPA2 handshakes will be one of the major things that you'll want to use here. Also recently added WPS ability, and with the WPS, it's using Wash and Bully. Bully is another alternative to like Reaver. It's a little more powerful in my opinion. So I think you will like those options. And of course, SSL strip as we went over. All right, we'll talk about the future of the attack implementation and what are we going to add that's coming up next. The next feature I'm going to put in, it's almost done, is WPE. So you will be able to spin this up and go after full corporate environments and capture not just handshakes, but you're going to capture their logins because you're going to spoof the corporate WPE servers or access point, and you'll retrieve the credentials that way. So it's going to have all the features you want to perform a full wireless pen test on a service while you're out on an engagement without dropping the ball anywhere. So for the most fun here, kind of went a little fast. But I did prepare for us to do demos. So everyone likes to see live demos. So we do have a quick overview of what's going on. Now let's just see how it works. All right, can everyone see that? No, not enough. All right, basically we can just see that our adapters that we have are down. We don't have any IP addresses. RC isn't controlling anything. So let's just go ahead and run. All right, our main option when we start our N4P up here is we want to check our config file. This is where we set all the life of what we're going to do and look at. we have it separated into a couple options. The first block is what you're going to do with your AP, which is over here. And if we highlight that, we have to set our BSSIDs, our local, and the ESSID or the SSID, what you normally see when you're trying to connect to an AP. And this time we're going to go ahead and play with the DerbyCon CTF AP. I thought that would be a fun one to pick and hack for us. So I already scanned earlier and got the BSSID out. But I'll go then further down here is where we set our attacks. What are options? We can do handshakes attacks against WPA2, Karma, SSL strip, or WPS. And we just verify that by typing it into the attack feature right here. And we set the encryption type, it's WPA2 to Z as it is. And this is all based out of the AirCrack suite because we're going to call AirCracked here. We just don't have to remember all the codes. Right, so let's just show you how that recon worked first. All right, so we hit one key, and we're scanning the area, and this is all the access points we see. Well, that kind of really hard for you guys to see. If you're familiar with it, there's just a long string of all the access points that are in the area. You can see their addresses, their PSSIDs or SSIDs, and we just want to copy that information down and put it in the config file, which was already done for you before the demo. All right, so all we want to do here is bring up our capture, and for that we just hit the number 3 on the framework. All right, so over here that we're seeing now, that is what's listening. Sadly, you guys can't see anything on that screen. Just carry it on. Now that we're listening on the proper SSID and BSSID and station of the DerbyCon CTF AP, we'll just launch the access point to spoof it and try to capture this handshake. Do that by pressing 5, and it's coming up right there. Oh, wait. Oh, I messed up. Demo gods failure. I have to set the attack option, and it is going to be handshake. All right. Now we just wait for a handshake. It shouldn't take long. Just for curiosity, because the guys at CTF are going to like it, we're going to go ahead and de-auth them. So everyone that's CTFing right now, I'm sorry. You... Yeah, so just by running the de-auth, which is option 8, no, option 7 right now, and I can keep de-authing them as much as I want. Did it a few more times. It didn't capture yet. I think if I just bring my AP up again, because I messed it up the first time, it kind of screws it up. Not if there's traffic. If no one, there's a lot of engagements, there's not a lot of people on, so you don't get the handshakes that you need to get enough packets to go ahead and crack it. I did this earlier when I was down in about lunchtime, and I got handshakes right away. So that's why I said I'll give it one more shot. There we go. That looks a whole lot better. And say goodbye to everybody again that's playing CTF, because I'm kicking them one more time. Please do not tell them it was me until after the CTF is over. Come on. We usually have one about right now. I don't want to spend too much time on waiting for one. With the way the script runs, we can let this run here. It is mostly dynamic. You can go back while this attack is already being performed. We can go back to the config file and structure to make a whole nother attack if we would like to make that engagement. The only limitation is we can't bring up more than one AP, but we can hook up more cards and run more monitor interfaces if we need. So those are all more options we can use to keep moving around. Normally arrow dump here obviously just shows it as soon as you capture the handshake. I find it a bummer that we're not catching it. All right. Sorry I didn't get the handshake. We will just carry on. Maybe circle back to that later. So that was one attack. That was just using a handshake, and it was as simple as pressing 3 keys and adjusting our attack here to handshake. But another option is that we want is to just run the AP, because that's very useful for us to have the AP, and we can just leave this variable as null. And just for them, I'm going to comment out what we had up there. So our BSSID isn't the same as theirs in interfering. All right, so if we just need that, we can run, I was going to run an attack. Hang on. Okay, all right. We're going to run a null attack. You'll see why it is an attack. So we have no real attack vector set, but we're just going to launch an access point because we want people to connect to us. All right. The AP comes up, and we have a victim pool that sits here. And the victim pool is just going to let us know the IP address of whoever connects to us and when they connect to us. So let's see if I can't get my phone to connect to us and see what we get. All right, N4P demo, if anybody else wants to take the risk of connecting. All right, and there's my phone. I already went ahead and connected. So we just saw the long string, which was the DHCP query when the phone connected. So we know the person connected to us is 10.00021. The way that is set up is N4P automatically puts a range in your DHCP conf when you first run it for the first time. And it checks to make sure it's there every time. That way it never re-implements itself when it's there. So you have control of the ranges you serve. Why do we want to do this? Well, We could run our own DNS server here. We could redirect people to portals that we set up and capture. Like we could fake Facebook if people connect and we get their Facebook logins. We could spoof the company corporate portal. So we just wget-m their portal, set it up locally, they connect to us, put in their credentials. So those are just things that we're hoping they're doing. It's a bit of a social engineering aspect, but you can go a lot of places with it. So adding the quick way to get the IP references like this was just a feature that I wanted to include. But what else could we do at this time? I could start SSL strip. I could go back to my attack, and I could just tell the attack, hey man, since we just did normally on an AP up and there's something connected, I want to check out what's going on the SSL line. So since we set the attack, now we just need to tell the firewall, because we need that firewall rule in there to port forward. So let's just tell the firewall to run, and we got all those new rules that we looked at reestablished and set up. And I guess my bad, I can't do that way. I have to do the SSL first because I have to bring the access point up, unless you just want to run EtherCap. So if they were already connected, here we go. SSL runs automatically, SSL strip, it's right here. And we just tell EtherCap to go. And now we can monitor everything that's connected to us through the SSL. So it's very fast, quick, and effective way for you to get your interfaces controlled here, the states of them controlled, up and down. Because you can see here, it already handled our monitor interface for us. Here's the AT0, that's our base station, our access point. And as soon as we close down our access point here, go back and check our interfaces, they are all down. There's no more AT, there's no more monitor interface, and all the wireless devices are down. We can set those as we want. Some of the other features that we could use in the configuration panel, where we set the interfaces we use for device 1 and device 2. In this case, it's set for ETH0 and WLAN 1. Obviously, it could be WLAN 3. It could be iPhase 0 could be WLAN 0 if we're working with 2 wireless devices. So we're not limited in any way to what devices we use or the device names. So that is completely up to you. And we talked about the bridging. That's in here. Right now, it's set through a Boolean value. You just have bridged equals false. But if we want to add that bridging feature in, we just change the Boolean value to bridge equals 2 and name the bridge. So next time we bring up our access point, it's going to automatically bridge those 2 interfaces that we set up together. And the VPN is the exact same thing. It's a Boolean value, and it just calls your init system for OpenVPN. What else? All right, and the last thing that you'll want to know about is our cracking methods that are in. This is getting updated fairly shortly. We set the path for our word list that we want to use here, and in this case, we'll just use the RockU. And if you check, N4P saves the capture files in /temp N4P. I don't have any because we didn't capture anything, and it cleans itself up. There would be a cap file here if we caught that handshake, and it automatically looks in there. So if we caught that handshake, we come back and we just say to go ahead and crack the .cap files, and it would immediately bring up aircrack suite against our dictionary on that capture file. So everything's already there with one button clicks. What will be added next on that feature is we can change the config option, and it will convert the cap file to an HCAP file, and then we can set the cracking option to use hashcat. So now we can have a much more effective dictionary and GPU possibility as well. So for now, for the time being, on a one-click button after you capture a handshake, it's going to be off. It's going to be off the single dictionary attack, and it's good for POC. But if you're doing it for now, I'm sure you're you know enough to go ahead and put that on over to Hashcat for you. But I'll get that out as soon as I can for that side of things. But I hope this makes like your war driving more fun, and your jobs just in your engagements when you're away to be more at ease and not having to remember all these strings over and over and over again that you need to run each application. So here's a nice small framework for you. Please try using it and contributing to it. And like I said, it's also packaged in the Pentoo repository. So if you do boot the Pentoo live distribution CD, just type emerge n4p and you're good. You have it. We usually keep that as close as I can to my GitHub, but my GitHub's pretty volatile on the development, so feel free to watch my GitHub as much as you can for new things coming up. And other than that, please enjoy it, and you can find me in the pound Pentoo on Freenode at any time. And if you have trouble, questions, or want to know something else that you can do in contributing to that project, I would love any feedback like that. So I think time's about up, and that's pretty much it, and hope you all enjoy the project.